Have you ever laid awake in the dead of night, replaying a conversation in your head? Each word you spoke, a bullet fired from your own gun, with only one target, you. An endless interrogation where you are the accused, the judge, and the executioner, all at once. We live in a world that screams at us to speak up, express yourself, find your voice. But what if the greatest power, the kind that has shaped empires and toppled kings, resides not in what is said, but in what is masterfully left unsaid? What if silence isn't a sign of weakness, but the ultimate expression of control? This feeling is familiar, isn't it? The power leak, the words that slip out, betraying your secrets. That brilliant idea you shared in a moment of excitement, only to see someone else claim it months later. That vulnerability you exposed in a moment of false intimacy, which was later weaponized against you. You handed your opponent the ammunition yourself. And then there is the slow assassination of your own reputation. Think of that argument, the moment your anger eclipsed your logic. The words poured out like poison, not to make a point, but to inflict a wound. And when the dust settled, you realized you hadn't just lost the argument, you had lost their respect, permanently. This is the trap of the mundane. The world is filled with noise, an endless chorus of people desperate to be heard, and in the process they render their own words worthless. The more you talk, the cheaper your stock becomes. You become predictable, ordinary, part of the background noise. But the silent person, they are an enigma, a deep well. Others cannot help but project their own assumptions onto that silence. Power, intelligence, confidence. Without saying a word, the silent person says everything. So think back to that last time you wished more than anything that you could reach back in time and simply shut your own mouth. That sinking feeling of regret, that raw exposure, that is the price you pay for not knowing the art of saying nothing. This pain is not an accident, it is a strategic error. And like all strategic errors, it can be corrected.
And to correct it, we don't look to the fleeting trends of the modern world. We must turn back the clock to a past that was darker, perhaps, but infinitely more honest. We must walk the stone corridors of Renaissance Florence, where an exiled diplomat was writing a prescription for a timeless disease, the loss of power. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. Do not think of him as a devil. Think of him as a political physician, a man who watched republics crumble, who saw powerful princes brought down by flatterers and fools, who understood that good intentions were the pavement on the road to ruin. Machiavelli looked into the soul of humanity and stripped away all illusion. He saw man not as he should be, but as he is, fickle, self-interested, and driven by a thirst for power. In this brutal world, his antidote to your pain, to that endless leakage of power through your words, was a strategy as simple as it was profound. A principle later distilled into the fourth law of power by Robert Greene: always say less than necessary. This is the key, the philosophical revelation that unlocks your problem. Let us go deeper. Why is this law so potent? First, because silence creates a strategic void. When you say less than necessary, others cannot read your intentions, your thoughts, your strategy. The human mind despises a vacuum. It will rush to fill your silence with its own assumptions and insecurities. They will imagine you are more powerful, more intelligent, more cunning than you might actually be. With your silence, you create a smokescreen behind which you can move freely, while they exhaust themselves trying to guess your motives. They are fighting shadows, while you see their every move in plain daylight. Second, life is a high-stakes poker game, and your words are your chips. Every time you speak, you place a bet, revealing a piece of your hand. The talkative person is the amateur who goes all in on the first round, showing all their cards. They are predictable and easily defeated. But the Machiavellian master of silence keeps their cards close to their chest. They watch, they gather intelligence, and they only speak when they are ready to take the pot. Every word is calculated because they know that information is the most valuable currency in the game of power. By saying less, you force others to reveal their hand first, and in doing so, you gain control of the game.
And third, silence is the perfect shield. You can never be trapped by the words you did not say. You will never utter a foolish, offensive, or dangerous sentiment if you utter nothing at all. How many times have you, after a heated exchange, wished you could take back that one final sentence? Silence saves you from this eternal regret. It is an iron discipline that prevents catastrophic mistakes, weaving an aura of infallibility around you. You might say this approach is cold, calculating, perhaps even amoral, and you would be right. That is the Machiavellian view. But the beauty of this principle is that it is mirrored in philosophies that are seemingly his opposite. Look to the ancient Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus. If Machiavellian silence is for mastering others, Stoic silence is for mastering the self. Epictetus taught, "Let silence be your general rule," or "say only what is necessary and in few words." The Stoics knew that an uncontrolled tongue was the sign of an uncontrolled mind. They practiced silence not to deceive an emperor, but to achieve inner peace, ataraxia, and to protect the fortress of their mind from the chaos of the external world. The goals are different, but the tool is the same: silence. And then we go to Nietzsche. For Nietzsche, silence is not a strategy, it is a symptom of superiority. Consider his concept of the pathos of distance. Nietzsche's Übermensch has no need to justify himself to the herd. He stands on his mountaintop and observes the noise in the valley below. His silence is born from the profound indifference of a great soul. He is so far above the petty concerns of others that he feels no need to engage in their trivial conversations. His silence is the border he draws between himself and the world of mediocrity. This is the silence of power, not the silence of fear. So you see, silence is not an absence, it is a presence. It is a canvas on which others paint their fears. It is a fortress that protects your spirit. It is a stage on which you are the director. This is the revelation gifted to us by Machiavelli, the Stoics, and Nietzsche, each from their own path. True power lies not in the words you speak, but in the words you masterfully choose to withhold. This is the key. And in the next chapter, we will learn how to use this key to unlock the doors of power in your modern life.
Philosophy without action is a delusion. Knowledge that is not forged into a weapon in your arsenal is merely dead weight. You now hold the key. You understand that silence is not a void, but a space of power. Now it is time to learn how to move within that space, how to shape it, and how to use it to win the battles of your daily life. These are the modern translations of the wisdom of Machiavelli, the Stoics, and Nietzsche. These are your laws for mastering the art of saying nothing. Rule number 1. Master the strategic pause. This is the simplest yet most powerful tool in your arsenal. The exercise is this. In any conversation, especially one of high stakes, after the other person has finished speaking or asked you a question, you will pause for a full 3 to 5 seconds before you respond. Breathe, look them in the eye, let the silence hang in the air. In our frantic world, an instant reply is seen as a sign of honesty, but in reality, it is often a sign of weakness. An instant reaction is an emotional, unthinking reaction. The strategic pause sends an entirely different message. It says, "I heard you. I am considering your words. I am so confident in myself and my response that I do not need to rush." It instantly transforms you from a passive participant into a dominant observer. The psychological effect on the other person is devastating. Those few seconds feel like an eternity to them. They begin to second-guess themselves. Did I say something foolish? Did I offend them? Why aren't they answering? Often, to fill this uncomfortable void, they will begin talking again, qualifying their statement, or giving you more information they never intended to reveal. You have forced them into a retreat without saying a single word. Imagine you're in a job interview and you are asked a difficult question. The instinctive reaction is to stammer, to offer a quick, weak answer. But not you. You pause. 3 seconds. You look at the interviewer, and then, with calm deliberation, you deliver your considered response. In those 3 seconds, you have seized control of the frame. You have created an island of calm in a storm of words, and that island is your territory.
Rule number 2, let others fill the void. This is the logical extension of Rule 1, but on a larger scale, especially in negotiations. The principle: state your point or your demand clearly and firmly, and then fall completely silent. The first person to speak after this silence loses. Silence in this context is a form of psychological gravity. The vacuum it creates is so heavy, so uncomfortable, that the other party feels a desperate need to fill it with words. And the words they use to fill it are almost always words of concession, justification, or counteroffer. The classic example is a salary negotiation. You state, "Given the responsibilities and the value I will bring to this company, my required salary is X." And then, absolute silence. No justifications, no further explanations, just silence. The hiring manager becomes uncomfortable. They might say, "Well, that's a bit higher than our budget, but let me see what I can do." Congratulations! You have moved them closer to you with zero effort. Had you broken the silence yourself by saying, "But I'm flexible, of course," you had instantly surrendered your power. This applies to personal relationships as well. After an argument, instead of trying to win by getting in the last word, just hold your ground and remain silent. That silence gives the other person the space to reflect on their own words, and often they will be the one to make the first move toward reconciliation. Remember, the one who always needs to have the last word is the one who has lost control. The one who can remain powerful in their silence holds the true power. Rule number 3, wield ambiguity as a smokescreen. Not every question deserves a full, transparent answer. In fact, most do not. The Machiavellian art is to learn how to respond without giving away any valuable information. This makes you an impenetrable fortress. Others can see the walls, but they have no idea what is happening inside. Vague responses like, "That's an interesting perspective. I'll have to give that some thought. I see what you're saying," or even a thoughtful, are powerful tools. They're polite, but they reveal nothing. They keep you unpredictable. When someone doesn't know your position, they cannot anticipate your next move, giving you a massive strategic advantage. Imagine a nosy colleague asks, "So, what's your next career move? I heard you were up for a promotion." A transparent answer reveals information that could be used against you, but a vague reply like, "I'm always exploring my options, we'll see what the future holds," is perfectly harmless. It neither confirms nor denies. It leaves the colleague in a fog, their curiosity unsatisfied. This technique buys you time. When faced with an unexpected question or demand, a vague response allows you to retreat, assess the situation, and formulate a strategic reply rather than offering an immediate, uncalculated reaction. This is what Nietzsche meant by wearing a mask. Not to be deceptive, but to protect your deeper, authentic self from the profane and superficial gaze of the world.
Rule number 4. Use silence as a shield for your reputation. In the digital age, your reputation is more fragile than ever. A single negative comment, a rumor, or an unfounded criticism can spread in hours and damage your standing. Our instinct is to defend ourselves immediately. We want to correct the record, tell our side of the story, and discredit the attacker. This is the biggest mistake you can make. An immediate emotional response to an attack gives it validity. Your reply says, "This is important enough for me to spend my time and energy on." You lower yourself to the level of the attacker and enter a mud wrestling contest where nobody wins. The Machiavellian rule here is your first response should be silence. In the face of online criticism, office gossip, or personal attacks, say nothing. Your silence screams, "This is so beneath me, so trivial that it does not even warrant a response." It places you above the fray. It demonstrates the stoic confidence of someone who is unmoved by the judgments of others. Silence starves a fire of oxygen. A rumor needs drama and reaction to survive. When you provide none, its flames quickly die down, and the crowd moves on to the next spectacle. If a response is truly necessary, it must come later, after a period of silence, and it must be calm, calculated, and delivered through a channel of your choosing, not in the heat of battle. Let others drown in their own petty storms. You will remain in the calm, powerful I.
Rule number 5. Spend your words like gold, not loose change. Think about value. A diamond is expensive because it is rare. Gold is valuable because it is finite. Your words are the same. In a world where everyone is constantly broadcasting their every thought, the person who speaks least is automatically perceived as more valuable. From now on, install a mental filter. Before you speak, ask yourself this. 1. Is it absolutely necessary that I say this? 2. Does it serve my long-term purpose? 3. Is this the most effective time to say it? If the answer to any of these is no, remain silent. This practice turns you from a speaker into an editor. You begin to cut the superfluous words, the needless opinions, the unnecessary explanations. The result? When you finally do choose to speak, your words have incredible weight and impact. In a brainstorming meeting where everyone is shouting out ideas, you are silent, listening. You are seeing the patterns, identifying the weaknesses, understanding the connections. Then, at the right moment, you deliver 2 or 3 sentences that either synthesize all the previous ideas or point to a new, superior path. The room falls silent. Everyone listens. Why? Because they have learned that you only speak when you have something of immense value to say. You did not spend your words like loose change. You invested them like a bar of gold at the perfect moment.
Rule number 6. Know when to break your silence with deadly precision.
And here we arrive at the mastery of the art. The ultimate goal is not to become a silent recluse. That is a dangerous misinterpretation. Silence is a tool, not an end in itself. The true power lies in the balance between strategic silence and precise speech. The art is to cultivate your silence, to observe, and then to recognize the single, perfect moment to break it. This is the moment when your words will have the maximum possible impact. It is a calculated, finishing move in a game of chess. Imagine a corporate board deadlocked over a critical decision. Two factions are arguing loudly, each trying to dominate the other. You, as the leader, have been silent the entire time. You have allowed both sides to exhaust their arguments, their fears, and their ambitions. The room is filled with fatigue and stalemate. And then, in that moment of stillness, you break your silence. Not with a shout, but with a quiet, firm voice. You do not say, "This side is right." You use the information you have gathered from both sides to propose a third way, a way that addresses the core concerns of each faction but steers the outcome toward the greater goal you had in mind all along. Your words in that moment land like a thunderclap, because they emerge from a long silence, because they are wise and considered, and because they are spoken at a moment when everyone is desperate for a resolution. You did not participate in the argument, you concluded it. This is the pinnacle of mastery, using silence to build a platform, and then stepping onto it to speak the one word that changes the world. This is the art of saying nothing, so that when you finally speak, it is all that matters.
We began our journey in the pain of spoken regrets. We walked the dark corridors of Machiavelli's mind and found the key to power in silence. We forged that ancient wisdom into 6 practical laws for your modern battles. You now know that silence is not the absence of words, but the focused presence of power. Remember this: mastery of the self begins with mastery of the tongue. Victory in your outer wars is won first in your inner silence. This is not the art of saying nothing. It is the art of winning before the battle has even begun. Your sovereignty over your words is your sovereignty over your destiny. And so, the question is now for you. Look at your life. In which arena, your career, your relationships, your own internal war, will you now deploy silence as your primary weapon? And what is the first command you will give yourself to enforce this new strategy? This is not a thought exercise. This is a vow. Write your answer in the comments below and begin it with the word command to signal that you are integrating this lesson into your personal code. This is your mark of distinction in the community we are building here. For example, command: I will no longer react emotionally to baseless criticism. I will meet it with the shield of silence. But your journey does not end here. You now hold an impenetrable shield, the shield of silence. It protects you from attack and gives you the power of observation and strategy. But a warrior does not win with a shield alone. They need a sword. The sword is the art of speech. The art of speaking in such a way that your words land like a lightning, compelling the world to fall silent and listen. In our next videos, we will delve into the psychology of charisma. We will learn how, after a powerful silence, to speak the words that persuade, mesmerize, and lead. Now that you have mastered defense, it is time to master precision attack. This journey is not for the timid. If you are ready to forge your sword, click the video that now appears on your screen. Mastery awaits.